Welcome. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad. So glad that you could take a few minutes to join us at Open Door today. Have you ever feel like you've just run out, where you're tired, you're exhausted, you've run out of joy, you've run out of hope, you've run out of optimism? Sometimes in looking at the conditions of the world, we've just become numb. We've even run out of the capacity to feel. Today we'll be looking at the story in the Gospel of John of Jesus turning water into wine at a wedding feast. According to the Gospel of John, this is Jesus' first recorded miracle. In telling this story, the author of the Gospel is really presenting a central theme of how it is that we can come to recover our joy in life. And it provides a hopeful message that our joy and the possibility of our experience is still ahead of us. Our best is not behind us, but it's still in front of us. So, reading from the Gospel of John, the second chapter, we'll begin at the first verse. On the third day, there was a wedding in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. When the wine gave out, the mother of Jesus said to him, "They have no wine." And Jesus said to her, "What concern is that to you and to me? My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you to do." Now standing there were 6 stones water jars for the Jewish rites of purification, each one holding 20 or 30 gallons. Jesus said to fill them. Fill the jars with water. And they filled them up to the brim. He said to them, "Now draw out some and take it to the chief steward." So they took it. When the steward tasted the water that had become wine, he did not know where it came from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew. The steward called the bridegroom and said to him, "Everyone serves the good wine first, and then the inferior wine after the guests have become drunk. But you have kept the good wine until now." So in this story, and in many stories, wine is the essential element to a wedding feast. A wedding, the great time of celebration, a great time of families coming together. Wine would be the essential element in the commuting, in that community, in that sharing. And to have the wine run out is really representative of really losing out on that opportunity for celebration, losing out on that opportunity for joy, losing out on that shared experience. The wine run out is really a metaphor for our running out of the things that are important to us. And in many cases, we all face a moment where the wine has actually run out, where we come to a time and place in our life that we had hoped would be a rewarding time, a meaningful time, a time that would be special to us. And this happens to people young and old. Many times people get to high school or college, and they're expecting this to be the best time of their life, and yet the wine has run out, and there's a lack of joy, and the times become overwhelming. Many times people wait and they expect to get married and have a family, and the wine runs out, and things have become very difficult and very hard. Tragedy strikes, the wine runs out, and the joy runs out. Sometimes people make it all the way to retirement. They've been looking forward to really going and spending some time differently and doing some of the things that they waited all their life to do. And things happen, and it's not possible, and the wine runs out. We, in many cases, when I was growing up, I expected that many of the problems of the world we would have solved by now, and we could actually be moving on to a new era of peace and harmony and global well-being, as we had technology that had overcome so many of the obstacles of human suffering. And yet the wine has run out. We still see war and violence. We still see massive poverty and hunger. And as we come to this moment, sometimes it just feels like our wine has run out, where we feel like we are without hope, that without any possibilities. There was nothing that this family could do when the wine ran out at the wedding feast. It was powerless. In many families, when you plan the wedding, it's a great expense. They spent all that they had, perhaps, setting up for the wedding. Perhaps even if they had the money, where were they going to go at this time of day to be able to acquire more wine? Sometimes it just seems in our lives and in our living situations that we've run out of joy, and we've run out of possibilities. We've run out of even the hope for joy and for redemption, and it becomes a moment where it becomes kind of desperate. This wedding feast was going to come to an end. Perhaps the family was going to face embarrassment, regret. Perhaps there would be even bitterness, as maybe Uncle Joe was responsible for the wine and he didn't buy enough, or the people didn't deliver enough in terms of the shop or the store. They promised so much, they paid so much. Whatever it was, there's all sorts of reasons that the wine in our lives can run out. Sometimes it can be decisions that we made. Sometimes it could be decisions or promises that other people made, things that didn't happen that should have happened. And we can reach a place where we don't see a possibility for resolution. We don't see a possibility for breakthrough. We don't see a possibility for how things can go better. Mary, Jesus' mother in this case, she did not give up hope, and she did not run out of wine or joy. She really believed that Jesus had the ability to transform the situation. She cared that this family was out of wine. She cared that the whole feast was about to come to a shameful and unfortunate ending because the wine had run out. And she went to Jesus and asked for help because she hadn't given up hope. One of the things that we learn from this story is that in many cases we have to be like Mary, that we look at the situation of the world, and even when everyone else is giving up hope, even when everyone else is giving up belief, we will still care enough to hope. We will still believe. We will still hold on to that hope. We will look at the situation and we have to believe that even though we can't see the solution, that there is a solution that will take us through, that there is a solution that will restore the wine. There is a situation that will restore our joy and our fellowship. There will be celebrating even after this time of loss or mishap. So Mary kept that vision alive. She kept that hope alive. She kept the belief alive even when there wasn't any way that really appeared possible. So Jesus in this story did intervene. He gave the folks a direction to fill the jars with water, and they did. Now, they didn't really have faucets or fountains or a big water hose. For the most part, people would have had to tote lots of water from a well or a river to fill up these basins, to fill up these big 20 to 30 gallon containers that they had. One of the things that we know is that there's a lot of work that has to be done in order to have our joy restored. There's a lot of work that has to be done. They had to tote, when you're talking about 20 or 30 gallons, and there were 6 containers, you're talking about 120 gallons at minimum. That's a lot of work, especially when you have to carry each one gallon by gallon, when you have to carry each one bucket by bucket or container by container, pot by pot, jar by jar, and pour it in and fill it up. That takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of work. Sometimes there's not an easy way, and there's no substitute for putting in the work, to faithfully put in the work. For us who are following Jesus, it may be the work of really to live by some of the principles of the Sermon on the Mount, to learn how to live and love, where you really go through the process of loving your neighbor as yourself, where you really live your life in such a way that everyone becomes your neighbor. When we really learn how to do these things, when we will be like the Samaritan, we will stop and put ourselves out for someone that has no connection to us whatsoever, that likely will not and cannot ever repay us. When we learn to care for people that way, when we learn to feel compassion and care for our enemies, and when we learn how to bless people who would not do the same in return, when we go through the process of learning how to do the work. Paul, when he wrote in some of his writings, talked about when we learn how to crucify the old self, some of the old negative attitudes, and we will learn to be guided by the Spirit, where we allow our minds to be transformed, where we put the work in to not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the ongoing renewing of our minds, of our thinking, of our thought. Sometimes we have to put the work in. For some of us, the work may include therapy, may include medication, may include a trip to the gym and multiple trips to the gym and exercise. But the first work really starts with a transformation of our thinking and our mindsets and our mentality and our thought. And we have to be willing to continuously guard those thoughts and to make sure that we replace the negative thoughts and the negative thinking with the positive energy. And the love that we're talking about following in this is an applied love. So we learn to give of ourselves. We learn to put ourselves out. We learn to extend ourselves. We learn not to react negatively and toxically to broken situations, but we really learn to fill the jars with the water. We fill the jars in our lives with the water. And as we do that work, we allow God to do the transformation. That as we go do the work and go through the process, God transforms our situation. We don't know at what moment the water became wine. I can only imagine some of the folks who had filled it taking it to the chief steward, and the chief steward not knowing the source. I don't know what moment it happens, but it seems to be that this is something that happens along the way. That as we maintain hope, as Mary maintained hope in the face of a hopeless situation, as we do the work, the hard work of filling up the jars in our lives, as we do the hard work of filling into each other, pouring in hope, giving each other love, giving each other support, giving each other tangible and material care when that's something that's necessary. When we give each other our time and our money and our efforts and our energy and our blood and our sweat and our tears, when we fill the pots, when we fill those containers up, somewhere along the line, God works a transformation, God works a miracle, and everything becomes transformed. And what's amazing about the transformation is that as we're on the other side of the transformation, it is even better than what we had imagined. It was even better than what we had hoped for. It was even better than what we had created on our own. That we may all be facing situations at some areas of our life where it seems like the wine has run out and the possibilities for replenishment are no more. But this is a story that is to remind us not to give up hope and to be faithful to the things that Jesus modeled, to be faithful to the things that Jesus taught, to be faithful to the vision that the early Christians, Jesus' early followers, lifted up about the possibilities for our individual lives, about the possibilities for the world. That as we are faithful to that vision, faithful to that witness, as we do the hard work of filling up the containers, pot by pot, vessel by vessel, one by one, there's a transformation that takes place. And as the transformation takes place, we'll find that we experience deeper levels of joy, deeper levels of well-being, deeper levels of satisfaction. We'll find that we have experience deeper levels of love, deeper levels of community. We will discover that our best is right now, that our best is not behind us, but that our best is in front of us yet. Peace be with you.